Some disappearances are so strange, they sound like fiction, but these are chillingly real. Tonight, we're looking at 5 mysterious vanishings that remain unsolved and defy all logic. Each case leaves behind a trail of questions, whispers of theories, and a haunting silence that no investigator has ever been able to explain. These are not just stories. These are lives erased without answers. Case 1. The Vanished Boy in the Woods. In the summer of 1957, an 8-year-old boy went for what should have been an ordinary walk into the woods near his family home. He promised his mother he'd be back before supper. He never returned. Search teams swarmed the area. Over 500 volunteers, bloodhounds, helicopters sweeping the treetops. For weeks, they combed through the forest. His footprints were discovered leading into the woods, and then they simply stopped. No broken branches, no signs of a struggle, nothing dragged, nothing taken. It was as if the earth had opened up and swallowed him whole. Parents clung to hope for years, but no remains, no clothing, not even a clue was ever recovered. Some say he was abducted by someone waiting in those woods. Others believe it was something supernatural, the kind of disappearance that has led to legends of strange portals or forces hiding deep in forests. Whatever the truth, one ordinary walk became one of the most chilling unsolved disappearances in history. Case 2. The Disappearing Flight Crew. In the 1970s, a small private plane took off on a routine flight. Weather was clear, no turbulence, nothing unusual reported. Hours later, the aircraft was spotted descending steadily and making a near-perfect landing on autopilot. When investigators approached the cabin, they expected panic or at least a story from the crew. Instead, they found nothing. The cockpit was empty. The pilot and co-pilot were gone. No distress calls had been made. No forced entry. No sign of a struggle. The instruments were intact, and the fuel was sufficient for the trip. Experts were baffled. Some suggested the crew might have opened a hatch mid-flight, but there was no evidence to support it. Others whisper about experiments gone wrong, secret government operations, or even abductions that go far beyond human explanation. What made this case terrifying was not just a missing man, but the smooth, deliberate way the plane landed without them, like invisible hands guided it safely to the ground. Case 3. The Missing Family Picnic. In the early 1990s, a family of 4 set out for a peaceful picnic near a rural lake. They carried food, blankets, toys for children. A perfect summer afternoon. But hours later, when rangers walked through the area, what they found was unsettling. The picnic blanket was spread neatly on the grass. Plates of food and half-empty drinks sat waiting. A radio played softly. The family car was parked just a few feet away. But the family themselves? Gone. Search dogs traced faint scents to the edge of the lake, and then nothing. No signs of drowning. No splashes or cries for help reported by other visitors. Some investigators leaned toward abduction, but no footprints, no tire marks, no evidence of anyone else was ever discovered. The belongings were untouched, as if they had stood up mid-bite and simply walked into thin air. To this day, the family's disappearance remains open, unsolved, and deeply disturbing. Were they lured away, taken? Or was it something darker in the woods and water that claimed them? Case 4. The Vanished Hiker on the Mountain. He was an experienced climber. He knew the mountain trails better than most. On a cool autumn morning, he radioed his friends mid-hike, saying everything was fine. Hours passed. He never checked in again. Search teams flooded the mountain. Days later, they discovered his backpack, neatly placed near the trail, his water bottle, untouched, his climbing gear stacked as though intentionally left behind. But no tracks led away, no falls, no broken equipment, just silence. Friends insisted he would never abandon his gear. Investigators could not explain why such an experienced hiker would leave his essentials behind. Some say he wandered off into a hidden ravine. Others whisper about stranger explanations. Shadowy figures reported by hikers. Sudden changes in weather that seem unnatural. Even stories of people vanishing into thin air on that very same mountain decades earlier. His case remains unsolved, another mystery carved into the stones of the mountain itself. Case 5. Disappearances. In the 1930s, a train of passengers from a Canadian settlement was shot in the skull. The village, home to dozens of residents, silent, houses still open, fires still burning. Meals sat half-eaten on tables. But every man, woman, and child was gone. Sled dogs had been tied and left behind. Some starved to death in their camp. There was no sign of panic, no forced departure, no evidence of violence. It was as if the entire population had walked out together and never returned. Theories grew wild. Some suggested a mass migration. But why leave fires burning and food on the table? Others suspected a deadly epidemic. But no signs of sickness were ever reported. Then came the darker whispers. Mass abduction, occult involvement, or something supernatural stalking the settlement. For decades, the story of the vanishing village haunted the region. It remains one of the strangest disappearances in North America's history. A reminder that sometimes entire communities can vanish, leaving nothing but questions behind. Outro. So, what really happened in these cases? Were they victims of crime, lost in nature, or taken by something beyond our understanding? These stories remind us of one terrifying truth. Sometimes people vanish and the world never finds out why. If these stories send chills down your spine, hit subscribe and join us for more mysteries that lurk in the shadows. Because the most frightening stories are the ones that never end.